Okay, so I'm back at it with Norman. So in the last video, I was like, oh, we tested all the safeties, we tested this, we tested that. So today, it was really Wonder Bread tested it all, right? So I didn't know how to do any of this, so I got a nice, beautiful, sunny day, so I went and bought my own multimeter here, and I tested the coils, based on what the book says, and they tested fine, because my thought was, well, maybe the new coils, ignition coils, were bad, you know, or something. I actually have another set that are a stock version on the way, so but they tested fine. So then it was like, okay, the next phase was to start with the safety. So I went down here and I was looking at my kickstand switch, and I'll see if I can get this to focus, but let's see, right here. See that break in the wire? But I was told that this was tested and tested fine. So I'm like, well, maybe the wire itself isn't broke. Maybe it's just the outer rubber casing. So I hooked everything up, as you can see right here, and then you test for continuity. So, you know, I had this on, and the guy in the video that I watched, well, every video I watched, basically, you turn the key, you lift the kickstand, and that's supposed to beep if there's continuity. Well, I did it. There's no beep. So I'm going to do a bypass on this, because I don't feel like taking all that apart. So we're gonna see if this will work. And you know, I had a feeling, I mean, it had to be something stupid. So let's pray that this is the something stupid, and after taking everything back apart, put it all back together, or at least just set the tank on there, hook everything up, and we'll see if this does the trick. If not, then we'll continue on with our multimeter, as some people call it. I'm sorry, there's so many names, different variations. Alright, so yeah, welcome to Shuttersplaining. We're going to bypass this safety switch and go from there. So this is the other end of it. So from what I gather, all I need to do is get me a handy dandy plug that fits in there, and take a wire and basically loop the same wire to both ends of this. I think that's the side that goes in. Yeah. So we're gonna take one wire and we'll put one end on this side, one end on that side, and it's gonna make a little loop, and supposedly that'll bypass it. That's how most of them are, so hopefully this works. Okay, so I've made my little jumper here, but this plug does not fit this one, so now I need to replace this with that, so I can plug this into that, and that'll be my little jumper bypass. So that's the next step. Okay, there it is. Now, to answer the question I know is coming in the comments, why don't you just wire them together? Well, A, because this is how they showed to do it, and B, this is much cleaner than just splicing the two ends together and covering with, you know, tape. This is much cleaner, and, well, you know, it's the way they said to do it, so it's the way I'm gonna do it. But there you have my little jumper bypass. Alright, so hopefully this will work. Okay, so we did our spark test before I put the tank and everything back on, and there's still no spark. But my battery has seen better days, so I'm gonna charge my battery up first and go from there, because I know if your battery doesn't have enough power, that also can make it to where there's no spark. And since I found that the kickstand safety was an issue, I was hoping it would fix the issue, but I can't be 100% sure that there's not other issues until I have my battery charged. So but we found one issue that Wonderbread said wasn't an issue. Yeah, I'm calling you out. I'm calling you out. Yep. A woman found something that a man didn't and said was fine. Can't be trusting these mechanics these days. Alright, so we're gonna let that charge, and then we'll also start continuing on testing stuff, since we've already found one thing that was an issue, and keep going. Okay, so went back to the drawing board and started going through everything again, but this time following my manual. So, you know, we tested the battery. I figured out that I have an L model. So, we checked the stators, which I have 2 stators. They came out fine. And then we go on to ignition. Let's see. Check the ignition coils again. This is the 3rd pair of coils. So, and they've all tested fine, so that's obviously not the issue. I don't have an igniter unit. The igniter unit is basically built into the ECU. There's no way to really test the ECU, but it has already been replaced. Also, see, I checked the right handlebar switch housing because it's got the engine stop switch, start button, front brake light switch, and headlight switch. Now, the reason why I checked that is because if there's something wrong with the switch, it'll prevent it from starting. But also, I do have one other issue that I've failed to mention, is I don't have a headlight. It does not work, even though I have replaced the bulb. So I figured, well, maybe the two were together. Well, that all tested out fine. In fact, I still need to put it back together. All right. I tested the neutral switch. All that stuff's in the speedo. So there's still some things that I still need to check. But as I was going through, I came across the pickup coils, which are also known as stator pulsars. So they send the voltage to the ECU from the stator. Stator's your alternator. And so we had checked this before, but we had checked continuity and resistance. So it was coming out fine. In fact, I'm going to do a little test here and show you. Okay, so I got it hooked up. Now, I have 2 of these pickup coils, just like I have 2 stators. So the top 2 here are 1, and then the bottom 2, we'll switch around and do that. But they both come out to about 430 ohms, which, according to the book, is within the parameters of it being good. So we thought that was good, right? But you take it one step further, and after you test the resistance, you need to test the voltage. And this is where, you know, actually cracking open your book and reading it instead of just always watching YouTube videos is a good idea, because the continuity just means that the wire's not broken, there's not a ground issue, you know, the voltage can travel through it. But if the piece on the other end is not sending that voltage through, then you got an issue. Well, So how you do that is you have to unplug all your, according to the book, unplug all of your spark plug wires, okay? And then you're going to switch this to voltage. Now you should get, yeah, it's adjusting. You should get a minimum of 2 volts, okay? Now right now it's at 0 because there's no power going to it. So how you test this is you're going to turn your key on, and I'm going to leave it on this so you can see, and you're going to push starting like you're trying to start it. See, nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. Okay, so there's no volts being put out of that one. So let's switch it over to the second one. All right, here goes the second one. And see, last night I was actually getting 1 volt. Now I'm not getting any. So either they are bad or they are not close enough to the magnet to create that voltage. So I went ahead and ordered it, a replacement, just because, you know, it might as well. But one of the things we're going to need to do is crack that open, which we're going to have to do anyway to replace it, and see how everything's sitting. Maybe it just wasn't, I didn't put this part together, so I do not know what to expect going in there, but that's one thing we need to do. But this is definitely what is needed to give you spark. You know, everything else, you know, that's in the line of creating spark per se, and things that stop the spark, like safeties and stuff, we've checked all of that. I'm rechecking, but so far, you know, everything's good except for I'm finding this has no voltage. So with that said, this is definitely probably the issue. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, and maybe Norman won't be such a bitch to me anymore, you know? I mean, I'm just saying, we have a love-hate relationship here at this point. I would like to change that to love-love, but, you know, you keep being bitchy, we're going to have a love-hate. So, anyway, so that voltage sends it to the ECU, which has the igniter unit. Basically, it replaces that on this model, because I have an L model. So it's going to tell, it's the brain that tells the coils to go ahead and spark up. So that would explain, like, they're not getting, the brain isn't getting the message to tell the, you know, coils that they need to send a spark. So that's where we're at this point.